Greetings, everyone. My name is Craig Henry. I am the Chief Executive Officer of the National Conservation Fund. I come from the beautiful island of St. Lucia, also known as the Helen of the West Indies, and of course, so regarded due to her irresistible beauty and of course, hospitable folk to match that beauty. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this session. Today, I'm moderating the panel, of course, on the circular economy in community engagement and innovative financing. In this session, we hope to highlight the circular economy in practice at the community level. We bring into focus how community leaders, conservation business practitioners apply principles of community and circular economy and in fulfillment of various ways to achieve sustainable goals. When we speak of advancing the circular economy, we recognize that transitioning requires certain preconditions, a regulatory and operational environment that facilitates and cooperates the necessary skills, resources that includes people, technology, financing, and of course there are elements of learning and relearning. As with all transformational events, there must also be advocacy, commitment, and will. With that preamble, I invite you to listen to our very first speaker on our panel. She goes by the name of Anna Carolina. She is a postgraduate in oceanography in the area of plastic pollution and geosciences, in the area of extreme events and extratropical cyclones. She is the coordinator of an awesome and, from my observation, very successful initiative called our Blue Hands Project, which solicits the collaborative efforts of the wider community in monitoring and addressing microplastics on islands and the Brazilian coastline. I hand over to Anna. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Craig. It's a pleasure to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. So my participation here is to share the lessons that we learned from the implementing of a microplastic monitoring network based on citizen science and how they establish themselves in a beneficial way. You know, this interaction between communities, stakeholders, and even the waste itself with environmental, social, and economic benefits. So briefly, our Blue Hands project is an independent project focused on citizen science and focused on enabling monitoring networks, data collection, and data transformation for the application of public policies and using standardized, easy to replicate methodologies and low infrastructure. So now we have already monitored around 20 beaches in Brazil and around Cape Verde. Thank you so much. So during 2021, our Blue Hands project implemented a microplastic monitoring pilot on Santiago Island in Cape Verde. And this is a project conceived from a Brazilian initiative scaled to another country in a similar reality. One of the lessons learned in this process of implementing projects related to the prevention and reduction of litter at sea is that the articulation of a well-formed network is an essential part of the success of the project, because the actors assume responsibilities ranging from the monitoring itself, providing the physical structure for the team, training the team that will carry out the project, and also the financial resource. In this specific case, how can we see in these slides? We selected the multiplying NGOs And the university as a local reference and responsible for a fellow, and the UNDP Acceleration Laboratory as the project's founding body. In addition, we can see experiments here and other occasional supporters. So we still have the question, how can citizen science benefit from the circular economy? So we start to see the microplastic monitoring protocol is a tool for the local communities to develop a data collection, specialize in them of microplastic pollution and plastic pollution as well. In addition to have access to a series of knowledge and partnerships. In this way, following the 2030 agenda, each time a community has access to training, several possibilities for implementing the project arise because they can understand the waste path until it reaches the beach and consequently the sea, and understand the life cycle of this residue, possibilities for changing the attitude of the individuals who belong to these communities can arise. We can see some pictures about this interaction, the clean beach and the monitoring as well, the meeting with the NGOs and a part of training on the beach. So every time they go to the beach and can experiment these interaction with the environmental, they can, it's a kind of arise the consciousness about the responsibility in this residue, in the trash, and how can I live in my community, and how can I carry out my community, because I depend directly or indirectly from that. So our Blue Hands has some 5 solutions and 3 phases. The first one is the training, monitor networking, and the data acquisition. They work it together because if you have the training, you can start to collect the data. And the second phase is the curation and quality control, because we are building a database about microplastic pollution. In this place, it's almost in the same time, because the people has the data, so they can go to the beach and we can see the difference in all coasts or in different islands. We can see the seasonalities, the accumulation of the residues. So this is the second phase. And at the end, we transform this data in information, into information that we can send to decision makers. So the best point of this is because it's a low cost, is a fast, high quality data, it's a capacity development, and we have the information for decision makers. This is very important to change our reality, because we know we have the pollution, but we don't know how much and how this goes to the beach and what is the resource. How can we change this or just break this and to go to the beach? And this is a very good point of this project, because it is a good co-designed implementation model. So we can hear from the community. What is the problem? In Brazil, it's not the same problem in Cape Verde. It's similar, but it's not the same. And it's not the same in Caribbean. But we are sharing the same reality about the problem. So how can we change this experience, you know? So yeah, here we can see again, like this point, and which the SDGs we have. So the quality education, the partnership, for the goals, the life below water, and another one. So the first thing is I have easy to replicate protocols because we can scale on it. So if it's easy and you have facility to understand this one, you can replicate and you can become a multiplier for that. So doesn't matter where you are, you can do this protocol because it's very simple to do that. And also you can receive the high quality information because in the decade, the ocean decade, we are trying to change our education system.
Estamos tratando de cambiar nuestro sistema de educación.
And put this, sorry, because some audio is here. We are trying to change the base because we are trying to put in the ocean literacy in the educational system. So now the schools are trying to teach in the basic education the dams about the ocean, the polluted, the marine polluted, the climate change. So this is very important when we started to do some high quality information to give this opportunity for any person who wants to receive that. You know, it doesn't matter if a child or if we don't have some obstacle or barrier. We are always trying to improve our language because I know it's sometimes is a technical them, so depends of the communities. I can start talk about like a teacher or scientist, so this is very important how I can share my information with easy language. And accessibility for many communities. So we have two examples of business models here in Brazil, and between projects, while projects, we think the circular economy is a micropolis, you know, that must be inserted as a mindset within companies, stakeholders, or social actors and decision makers. And it's necessary to observe this problem with intelligence. But we hear two models. So the first one is called Marulho, it's from Rio de Janeiro. It's focused on removed residues from the seabed or before disposal or incorrect disposal, and transform that into new products. Here we have some bag to put, so it's a it's a polyamide, so it's a recycled polyamide, so we can just change this material, the recycle. So this involves fishermen, craftsmen, and the community itself, and also is generating income for this community.
Just a bit of patience, folks. It may appear that Anna has a little bit of a technological challenge.
And apologies.
Yes, I see that she has dropped off.
Apologies. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm stopping.
Welcome back, Anna. That's fine. That's fine. Go right ahead. You've been doing well. Thank you.
Thank you. And as we have another interesting project that calls Duna Lab, and they change the microplastics. So some pieces and fragments from the beach, they change these into souvenirs and art for the tourists. So it's very nice project because we can, you know, do some partnerships. So I go to the beach, I'm monitoring the beach, and I pick up this and go to a place to transform that, and I can close the cycle, you know, and I can retire this from the beach and just do another product. Because I think the circular economy is a kind of to extend the life cycle of the product. And sometimes this better is not use the plastic, but we know the reality. We already have the plastic in our reality. So how can we change this? It's a step by step. You can change this, but also you can change the reality on the beach. And well, Brazil just recycle only 1.28% of discarded plastic. So it's practically almost nothing, you know. And well, with the monitoring, we can see a generating incomes for traditional communities. These are women fishermen from Reserva de Zimbros, Zimbros Reserve in Brazil. So it's very nice because the women's fishing, and also it's in the front line of the change. So as an initiative for this change, we began to see monitoring as an opportunity to generate income and also to change mindsets within coastal communities. Because each time a monitoring team is training for it, it has the opportunity to generate income and also to learn about the dynamics of waste accumulation in that region, and also applying the knowledge of a citizen. Because when you rise, you know, born and rise in that place, you are the perfect person to understand that dynamic. You know the context, you know the social, the cultural context. So you become a part, an essential part for application for public policies, a consultant, or even a conflict mediation. That's for me and for the project, this is the mainly thing for the people, the community. This is the paper, you know, the community play this role in this conversation. When you invite the community to sit on the table and, okay, let's have a talk, and I want to understand what's going on in your community, and then try to change and give opportunities and try and understand, and then these possibilities for finances and project and environment programs. So, well, at the end, I have too much share with you all. You know, it's a brief report on our experience. But I'd like to invite everyone to visit our social media, as we can see here in our blue hands. But in this context of the circular economy, it's how we can contribute today to this discussion. Thank you so much for your attention and for this great opportunity.
Thank you, Anna, for this brilliant presentation, and of course sharing your experiences with us. I must tell you that I've now decided to follow you on Instagram. I've seen some of your work, and I encourage others to do the same. I think what I should say at this point in time is I will highlight that you are very much focused on bringing the community along, and knowledge transfer depends on, especially if you want to do things differently, working with the community. And of course, working with the community involves also capacitating them to come along with you. And the business model is also one that offers some inspiration for others. So thank you for your presentation. Before I move on to our next presenter, I would just like to remind folks that with regards to questions, you are invited to make comments, general comment section, but if you have specific questions, you go to the question and answer option, and you can post your questions there, and I'll be happy to channel them when we get to the question and answer section after all the presentations have been made. Thank you so much. Let me move on to our second presenter. Her name is Danny McLitchie. Danny is a sustainability professional with proven leadership and entrepreneurial skills. As a co-founder of Carney Cycle, she consults with Caribbean stakeholders, promotes environmental awareness, and has received recognition for her best achievements, including a Best Sustainability Business Pitch Award. That's great, Danny. She's also a sustainable fashion ambassador for Remake and is committed to promoting sustainability and environmental awareness in inequitable communities through her faith. Danny, we are looking forward to your sharing your experience with us, and it sounds quite exciting so far. Over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. It's very, very excited to be here. Thank you for that wonderful introduction. So you took it away. My name is Danny McLitchie, and I am the CEO of Carney Cycle. Carney Cycle is an organization based in Trinidad and Tobago, working to make Carnival sustainable. So today I'm going to talk about how Carnival can be circular and how we use community engagement to accelerate our circularity. I'll start off by going over the intro and problem of why we're even working on making Carnival sustainable. And then I'll be talking about what we're doing to solve it. And yes. So these last 2 days, you probably, for those of you guys who have been attending this conference, you probably already know what circular economy is. But just a quick recap, the circular economy is a model where materials are made or products are made and remade in a circular fashion versus traditional linear systems where products are made, used, and then thrown away. The circular economy models what I call our nature, where we'll eat something like a fruit or a mango, and then we may throw it away in the bush. It then biodegrades, giving nutrients to the soil. And it goes through this whole ecosystem where that fruit is regenerative when it's thrown away and it's reused versus just being wasteful. This can apply to any industry, and the industry we're applying this to is Carnival. And then as a quick definition, because this panel is focused on community engagement is seeking to actively work with a group of people that have commonalities for decision-making on issues that are very pertinent to them. So a little background on the history of Trinidad and Tobago Carnival. Back in 1783, the Spanish government at the time had brought in French settlers to grow the population. They brought their grand masquerade balls and celebration into which the West African slaves at the time could not participate. And in a form of rebellion, they formed their own traditions and their own mass, which we now call Carnival. Today, Carnival is celebrated in over 50 different countries, and it is a beautiful celebration of liberation, freedom, and joy, but it also comes at a cost with that many people participating in most Caribbean's largest tourism product. And to show you the scale it's grown, it's now considered largest festival in London, Notting Hill Carnival, and in Trinidad and Tobago, we humbly call it the greatest show on earth. So here's just some numbers in terms of scale. In a given carnival for Trinidad and Tobago, it's a 3-month period, we'll have over 250 events, ranging from small events with maybe like 150, 200 people to very large events with over 50,000 people. And we have 250 of those different sized events. Then we have our carnival celebration where people don these beautiful costumes as you see in the picture there. And we have masqueraders go down the streets in beaded and feathered wearable pieces of art. And then we have Juve, which is a really large celebration where we rise up early at 3 a.m. to party and throw paint and powder over ourselves. So what are the environmental impacts of all of these things? Well, for the events, you have decorative material and props that are often just used once because themes are not recycled. You have lots and lots of freebies because oftentimes events and carnival bands, stakeholders, they partner with large corporations and they will give out branded lanyards, glow stick, reusable cups that are often thrown away. And then you have the infrastructure for any event, which includes stage lights, generators, and when you have very special events like we call water fetes, which are water parties, we have a lot of water waste that's involved in carnival. In fact, one year in Trinidad and Tobago, there was a shortage of water and we were banned from having water fetes by our local water authority in 2019. On the fashion side now, you have costumes, and this is where it gets very niche. These beautiful costumes you see are, again, only single use. So new themes of costumes are made every single year, and then every single year, people only use it on the road for less than 24 hours. But these costumes are not cheap. They're like 500 to 2,000 US, and they contain harmful plastics, POPs, and chemicals, and they're often discarded on the floor after the event. And at a global scale, well, Trinidad Carnival is estimated to produce 7,500 pounds of trash. Notting Hill Carnival in London produces 600,000 pounds of trash. And Brazil Carnival, over the 5 different carnivals in Brazil, is estimated to produce 7 million pounds of trash. And again, these are just 3 carnivals, right? We have over 100 different carnival and carnival-like events throughout the world. And so you see the problem at scale. Now, focusing on the very niche costume waste, this is our first act of community engagement. We decided to take surveys of people who participated in carnivals. We took surveys of people who participated in 10 different carnivals and what do they actually do with their costumes post-carnival. Well, the results of over 100 participants showed that 17% threw away their headpieces that go on your head, 22% throw away those feathered back pieces, and then 39% throw away bras. And a fun fact is every single bra you've ever known in your whole life is handmade. There's no bra machine. So just imagine that waste. And if you scale it to the largest carnival in the Caribbean, which is Trinidad and Tobago, you're looking at 7,800 bras thrown away every single year. We did the work. We did the work for calculating what is the carbon emission of a bra. And we estimated it to be 37 kilograms of carbon emissions. When you multiply that by the amount of bras that we estimate to be thrown away for each carnival, you get close to 300,000 kilograms of carbon emissions, which translates to the energy use for 35 homes. And that's just the bra, that's not the entire costume. And all costumes are procured from China for some point. So the supply chain is costumes come from China, and then either the materials come or the assembled costume comes from China, and then they're dispersed to the customer. So this factor doesn't account for all the global emissions associated with transportation of the other aspects of the costumes as well. So I think you guys get a great landscape of what that problem is. So what is the solution? So our solution and our mission at Carnicycle is to make carnival fashion and events more sustainable. We do this through primarily education, waste management as in recycling, and then consulting of different stakeholders within Carnival. We are based in Trinidad and Tobago, but we do have some operations in USA and Bermuda. Our most unique and niche initiative and our largest initiative has been costume recycling. Costumes follow the linear process where they're designed, they're created for the theme of the year, and then they are produced at scale in China. After the 2-day celebration, they're just thrown away, or they're put in people's closet because there's no use for them again, and then thrown away eventually. We work to make carnival costume production more circular by starting to recycle the costumes. So recycling was our first injection into the circular costume model, because before they were just being thrown away. So we started an initiative where we recycled costumes. We collaborated with over 50 different partners, including hotels, local restaurants, universities, to have collection points for costumes over the carnival parade. And maybe 2 weeks after it, we collected the costumes, we sorted them, cleaned them, we broke them down into its raw materials, so it's beads, feathers, fabric, gems, and then we were able to resell these costume pieces back to local designers for prototyping, back to emerging artisans, back to new designers who can't afford a virgin costume material, and we're able to sell them at a discount of 35 to 40%. And this is just our first thing. Upcoming for next year Carnival, we are working with a Monday wear brand to make her whole design sustainable from the start. So from the start, we've been working with helping her select alternative fabrics for her Monday wear costumes. We're helping her with producing those costumes locally, and then we're helping her with local costume distribution. So all the materials are either locally sourced, organic or recycled, and produced locally. Her brand is also size inclusive, so we're tackling sustainability from a social perspective, as the commercialized product of Carnicycle has had one primary image for the last 15-20 years of a very skinny person's, while the essence of Carnival is that it's for everybody, literally and figuratively. So how do we incorporate community engagement? Well, again, community engagement looks like working with a group of people with a common issue. And we do that through education campaigns, webinars. We're constantly educating people about what the problem is, what the issue is of having our culture be so wasteful, and what it looks like for us in the future if we don't do something to change the current landscape of Carnival. We then also consult with local designers, local masqueraders on what are their issues. Size inclusivity was an issue, which is why we're working with this brand. Options to actually recycle your waste during Carnival was also an issue, which is why we've been working with vets to have recycling receptacles at each party. And then we go into involving them in the actual solution. So we've hosted costume recycling workshops for primary and secondary schools. We've hosted it for designers. And then again, speaking to the collaboration, we've collaborated with over 50 people locally in Trinidad and Tobago, 50 businesses, to make this Carnival recycling process a success. And here's the brand that we're working with for Carnival 2024. We're very excited. They're called Cara Monday Wear. You guys should all follow them on social media. Again, size inclusive, sustainable fabrics will be involved. We're helping them with their green marketing. We've helped them with local production, and we're helping them with also sourcing local treats and goodie bags, which is another aspect of waste that is usually sourced from China, and all of that will be sourced locally. And what are our achievements thus far? So we've launched 6 recycling campaigns in over 5 countries: Jamaica, Barbados, Miami, USA. What was the next one? Trinidad and Tobago. And then we've recycled over 1,600 costumes thus far. We supported over 3 emerging designers. So these are designers who are breaking into the industry and they're looking for they were looking for help in terms of sourcing recycled material and sourcing materials at a discount. These designers are based in St. Lucia, the USA, and Trinidad and Tobago. We've worked with 10 different FETs to offer recycling solutions for their FETs. And because we're the first of our kind, we've been able to contribute to over 6 research papers on the applications of sustainability in a carnival setting. This year, we opened our first permanent costume recycling drop-off point in Trinidad and Tobago, and we hope to open a couple more around the island and some within the region. And looking ahead, we want to continue pushing partying with a purpose, that we can have our culture, but not sacrifice the planet at the expense of our fun. We are working towards our first pilot costume recycling plants. So we want to be the hub of recycling for the region, and then working towards our carnival rental marketplace solution, furthering circularity. And how can you join the movement with us? Well, you can request our consulting services if you are a carnival stakeholder. If you want to join our team, we're looking for volunteers, specifically ambassadors for Jamaica and Barbados, because we're already again in Bermuda and USA. And then we will soon be launching a Kickstarter campaign to help accelerate funding for our pilot plant, launching in December 23, this year. And other than that, you can follow us at Carnicycle on all social media platforms and share the word. And if you're a corporation, you can partner with us to accelerate your ESG initiatives. And that is all I have. I really thank Caribbean Biodiversity Fund and Island Innovation for giving me this opportunity and to share what we are doing here at Carnicycle.
Thank you, Danny. That was excellent. I think I learned quite a bit. I'm hoping that other folks learned as well. This is quite an interesting take on Carnival, using circular economy principles. While we can enjoy, we can also be sustainable. I think the solutions that you spoke of, and even having the community engaged, are important achievements and steps. I like the idea of the fact that you are also attempting to create this network of recycling in that sort of fashion across the Caribbean. It is necessary, and when I mentioned about transitioning earlier, it is that sort of thing that there is this framework, at least, that folks can learn from each other, and there can be elements of cooperation on the line. I thank all of you for sharing as well some links in the chat, very important. Mr. Jabal Hassel, I am not sure I'm saying that correctly. There was also for you, Danny, some note about some support possibly from the British Council with regards to sustainable festivals, so you can look into that after, and of course all the folks who are interested. So thank you. I remind you again, keep your questions coming in the question and answer session. And let me move now to our final presenter for today, Juliet. Juliet Deal. Welcome, Juliet. She has considerable experience in the field of resource diversion, waste mitigation, and has worked over the past 14 years in the Bahamas, the US, and the Caribbean with businesses professionally, and also teaching communities in her own time. Previously, Juliet was with the United Nations Development Program, debris and waste management specialist for Hurricane Dorian's response in Abaco, Bahamas, working with NGOs and government agencies to coordinate terrestrial and marine debris removal. Juliet is also the co-founder and director, volunteer of Hopetown Zero Waste, founded by Jeff Small Grants Facility, Jeff UNDP, Jeff SGP UNDP, of course, and the co-founder and director of Abaco Zero Waste in Bahamas. This movement is doing some amazing work with the support of the community to promote zero waste in theory and in practice. Welcome, Juliet, and I hand over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the Caribbean Conservation Finance Congress and Island Innovation for inviting us to be a part of this. And I say us because I represent a group of stakeholders that make our projects possible. Thank you to Karen McDonald Gale as well, and to my colleagues and other speakers. So I will go ahead and share my screen now. Okay. Can you see that there?
Yes, we can.
Okay, great. Okay, so wonderful. Thank you again. It's a pleasure to be a part of this. So Hopetown Zero Waste, we're a multi-stakeholder zero waste pilot program. As mentioned, that we had received a grant from the Small Grants Program by Jeff that's implemented by the UNDP. Why is it not going to next? Sorry. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the Bahamas to explain very briefly our geographical issues, but mainly about considerations that add to our complexity of waste. So first of all, the Bahamas is an archipelago that is made up of 700 islands and 2,400 keys. So this makes us unique to any other country within the Caribbean in the sense that we have, we're spread out quite a large distance. So we have about 100,000 square miles, and within that 100,000 square miles, we only have 5,382 square miles of actual land. Our population is relatively small. We have a population of 407,000 people across 30 inhabited islands. But in contrast to that, we receive anywhere from 4 to 6 million tourists per year. Our gross GDP is over 50% from tourism. So that is our primary industry within the country. And the majority of goods are actually imported into the country. So when we think about waste, and we're talking about trucking, palletizing, shipping, and getting materials, goods, foods onto the shelves for others to actually purchase, we are importing the mass majority of that. So a little bit, I'll go back here really quickly. So a little bit about islands. As we all know, this is Island Innovation, but even though we're all islands, every single island and community within an island is uniquely different. This is based on its geography, its location to other islands, social and cultural considerations, as we know. And this makes it a dynamic system. So if we're thinking about a community that is subsistence living versus a community that has a high volume of tourism, we would not want to apply the same waste management systems to the two communities. They're very different. And so it's important for us to think of island communities as dynamic and as diverse, even if they're within the same region. So I'm going to pinpoint here right now, you see all of the Bahamas, and then I've circled where we have Abaco. So Abaco would be like a provincial region or a state. And then within that provincial region, we have a smaller key, which is Elbow Key, and that's where Hopetown Zero Waste first started. So a few things to mention about Abaco. So Abaco has the third largest economy in the Bahamas. We have the third largest barrier reef system in the world. We also have one of the largest underground saltwater blue hole systems in the world. National Geographic actually came in 2014 with a group of scientists to start documenting the underground cave system. That'll be the image that you actually see there with the cave diver underneath the water. We also have freshwater lens systems as well. So when we have the cave systems, and then on top of that, because we're a limestone, essentially the fresh water filters through the limestone and creates a freshwater lens. There are only 3 islands, main islands in the Bahamas that provide fresh water from these lenses, and 2 One, I believe now is somewhat compromised, but only two that are providing potable water, not only regionally, but also throughout the country in different capacities. We have critical mangrove systems, sensitive terrestrial and marine ecosystems, and also we're known globally for our pristine beaches. So if we're talking about waste management, how do we solve this problem? How do we avoid waste entering into the marine environment? So oftentimes we think of it in terms of the waste rocking on shore, or we think of mass events such as hurricanes or flooding. But also the problem is that historically in the Bahamas, waste was traditionally either dumped at sea, which means it was placed close to shore or near a port, or it was dumped within a mangrove system or a water system. And the third one was spaces that were quarried out for construction and infrastructure. So what happens is when waste started to, the complexity of waste started to change, our habits are still staying the same. So this image right here was taken by a colleague at the time that was working with IOM with the United Nations. And we went together. So I've been in most of the dumps in Abaco. And what you can see right here, this is a dump in Treasure Key on the mainland. And in the background, you can see the marl system. So all of that natural marl system. And then within this actual dump, if you look towards the back, you'll actually see water. This is tidal water. It comes up and it goes down. It comes up and it goes down with the tide. And this is how we're handling waste in certain regions in the Bahamas. You can also see a pool of green water as well in that picture. So what are some of our critical issues that we're facing in terms of waste management within the out islands of the Bahamas? And I say the out islands because there is a facility in another provincial area called Grand Bahama, and there's also a facility in New Providence. But the rest of the out islands, predominantly, these are our main issues that we suffer from. So the first is that we don't have national or regional waste generation data. And what I mean by that is we need to know the type of waste that we're actually producing, the volume of the waste, the weight of the waste, and then the frequency that we're producing this waste. So when we think of tourism, peak tourism season, we're going to see the largest volumes of waste happen within communities. Middle season, obviously, that will drop down. And then in low season, we'll see the lowest volumes. If we don't know how much waste and what type of waste we're actually generating, it makes it very difficult to develop a sustainable system. The second is that most communities have their own solid waste management system. Sometimes these are formal systems with collection and hauling. Other times these are ad hoc. You have volunteers that go in and set the dump site on fire and try to mitigate the fire from spreading. We also do open dump burning as our primary form of waste disposal. We spray raw sewage and used oil on the natural environment. So when we think of raw sewage, if we're emptying out our septic tanks, right now what's happening is they're spraying it onto the natural environment. So if we think of pharmaceuticals, birth control, and different chemicals that are being ingested by humans, this also can greatly impact our natural environment. We also have illegal dumping, especially of cars and boats. We now, because of Hurricane Dorian, suffer from hurricane debris issues. And as the region is now rebuilding, we also have the continual generation of new waste. So what is the big overarching problem here is that we are in need of a regional and national strategic plan around waste management. This should be localized, meaning that there is a flexibility in the waste management plan that drills down to the local level for the community. So what is Hopetown Zero Waste? So Hopetown Zero Waste, we started in 2015 as a recycling program and then applied for funding in 2017 to the Jeff Small Grants Program, again by the UNDP, to develop and implement a systematic approach to waste management as a community. So we received the funding in 2018. And we installed our infrastructure, which I'll indicate both before and after Dorian shortly. We installed our initial infrastructure. We did a series of workshops, and we were just in the phase of launching our island-wide membership program that would help to sustain the program moving forward. We lost all of that in Hurricane Dorian, and so then we had to begin again. And this is both before and after Dorian. So I'll go a little bit into our program. So first of all, our main goals are to develop and create a waste diversion model for the community of Elbow Key and other islands and keys in the Bahamas in order to showcase a whole systems approach to resource diversion and waste mitigation as a community. And when I say the word community, I mean year-round residents, second homeowners that are only there part-time, and then also our tourists that are coming and visiting, as well as businesses and resorts. And when I use the word resource, just as Dr. Austin yesterday mentioned, we have to start shifting our mind from thinking of materials as waste and start moving it towards the fact that it is in fact a resource. We've mined it, we've created it, we've put it out onto the market. And now what we're currently doing is open dump burning that material. What can we do with that material instead of open dump burning it? So I use the word resource diversion and waste mitigation for that reason. So the first goal that we have is one, to change the behavioral consumption and waste diversion habits within the community through the provision of solutions. So instead of just saying this is what we should be doing, we want to be able to provide that opportunity to be part of it and to create real solutions together. The second is we want to aim to divert 15% of our waste produced on the island, because even though we no longer burn physically on the island, our waste still gets shipped to the mainland and then gets open dump burned near other communities. So this is a problem as well, is that the outer keys with all the tourism are still shipping their material to the mainland, and other communities are being impacted by the waste that we're generating. So it's our responsibility to start shifting that model and making sure that we're taking as much waste out of this, as much as possible out of the waste stream. The third is addressing not only food security, but also we want to reduce the amount of actual waste that we're producing from importing food from other countries that we can actually be growing locally. If again, going back to packaging, just one package of tomatoes with polystyrene and then the wrapping, and then it's palletized, and then that pallet is then wrapped in plastic, how much that's contributing not only to CO2 emissions and greenhouse gases because of all the transportation, but now what do we do with all of that packaging when we can be making our own tomatoes year round? And then also looking at how do we educate and empower our youth to become active environmental solution-based leaders within their own community. And finally, how do we share this information with other communities? We've learned a lot of lessons. So how do we then share those lessons learned so that maybe other communities can avoid those problems and then sidestep that and create better solutions based on what we've learned? So our main programs are one, reduce program, recycling program, our compost and garden program, farmers markets, workshops, and knowledge mobilization. So for our reduce program, we partnered with a local company called Air2O, which is a water refillery and delivery system. And this is from the natural air, and then it makes water. So instead of us having our tourists come onto the island and actually buy pallets of plastic single-use water bottles, they now have a solution on island so that they don't have to do that. Locals as well within the community support this initiative greatly. Then we also have the provision of reusables, which you'll see in the picture there. So before Hurricane Dorian, we would offer these for sale so that we were encouraging people to take a 9x9 clamshell and take it to the local, your local takeout instead of having a single use at that time polystyrene container. And then we're in the process of setting up a zero waste refillery. This was one of our tables that we set up at a farmer's market that'll now be another partnership with a business. And this is where you can come to get all of your cleaning supplies for your home, as well as your personal cleaning beauty products like shampoos, lotions, and conditioners. And then finally, if we're talking about reducing, what we've done is we've set up a free cycle table at our farmer's market. So if you are somebody that has something to give away, you can place it on the table, or you can contact myself or one of our members. And then similarly, if you need something, you can go and you can pick it up off of the table completely free. This has been a huge We've had a great response from locals that, especially for people that lost everything in Dorian and are starting, relatively from the beginning. When we think as one single lamp that's not important to us and we want to discard it, may be something really important to somebody else. For our recycling program, we have recycling bins throughout the island. We do aluminum can recycling, batteries, flares, plastics, and also previous to Dorian, and then we'll be doing it again, will be textiles. So we take old textiles and we partnered with a group on the island called Hooktown Canvas, where they did a sewing series on how to make reusable bags from diverted textiles. We also have a community and school garden program. So we do both soil-based garden as well as now we have the tower systems so that the students can actually learn the difference between soil-based growing systems and also in terms of alternative technologies. We have at times of the year high salinity within the air. And also obviously during the summer seasons and hurricane season, we're also dealing with harsh conditions. So the tower systems are both external and also we have internal with lights so that the students can now learn how to grow food from different technologies. And then we also have a community and primary school compost program. The community program is only just starting, but we partnered before Dorian and now after Dorian with a local business. Before Dorian was with a resort and after Dorian is with a local restaurant. And with the community primary school compost program, the students actually take home the buckets. They put their food waste in it for the week. They bring it back to school. We weigh it. The principal and the teachers weigh it. And then they put it into the compost bin. The goal of this is that at the end of that, we actually want to start weighing how much compost is coming out of the bins and then going into the soil-based gardens. So we want to make sure that we're making that full cycle connection between the food that they're eating at home, the waste that they're generating, and the fact that that waste can now turn into nutrient-rich soil to grow food. Then we also have our workshops. So we've done a series of workshops both before Dorian and now after Dorian. So we have a make your own products workshop. We did a youth photography workshop over a series of a couple of weeks where we had youth go into the environment and photograph images of the impact that waste is having on their environment within their community, but through their artistic lens. And then also we wanted to make sure that they understood lighting and composition so that it was a true photography workshop. That was held by somebody who's a professional photographer within the community. We had Bahamas Plastic Movement, which I think some of you may have heard of them as well. They're an incredible organization and I highly recommend you check them out. And so Crystal Ambrose, she came and her team, they hosted a series with us on marine plastics over a course of 3 days. We also did the reusable bag sewing workshop that was also over the course of several weeks, and also our Bahamian bush medicine series that we did. The final one after Dorian, we've done a workshop with our precious plastics machine, which we're very excited. And thank you again, Austin, for touching on that. And then I will definitely reach out to Ross as well about his technology. So the precious plastics machine, the first one chips type 2 and type 5 plastics. The second one makes it into filament. And the third one we extrude and do 3D printing with. So we actually worked with the group Sea Monkey project that is out of the Pacific. And we had a whole workshop with some of our students from the primary school that came. And they learned how they would cut up the plastic, make sure it was clean. And then obviously we helped them, we did the shredding. But then from that, they were seeing directly how that plastic then turned into a coaster as well as a keychain. So we'll continue to do this. We want to spread this to other communities as well and not just keep it solely within Elbow Key. I'm turning over here, sorry. And so when we talk about zero waste, a quick definition that I wanted to share with everybody, and then I will move over to Abaco Zero Waste. So the definition of zero waste by the Zero Waste International
Julia,
Alliance.
sorry to interrupt you there.
Yes.
We're almost towards
Out of time.
So if
Sure.
you could summarize, give us a summary, and of course, there's an opportunity for folks to reach out directly to you. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. So the Abaco Zero Waste Project, we're working on data collection that'll give us baseline information to develop a formal waste management plan. The first zero waste recycling facility of its kind that has innovative, low cost, easy to implement solutions. Also an Abaco Zero Waste educational program so that we're making sure we're disseminating the information about zero waste. And also the goal of expanding what we're doing to other communities, whether that's within the Bahamas or sharing and connecting with groups like Austin's in Guam. So in closing, there are certain benefits to this when we're talking about community to cabinet driven policy, when we're looking at innovative business development incubators and opportunities for new businesses outside of just tourism. When we're looking at the environmental, social, and economic impact from in terms of climate change, waste reduction, disease prevention, and then also when we're looking at sharing this knowledge. So there were a few key points that I wanted to do for the discussion of the next phase, but do I have enough time for that, or what would you like to do?
Well, I'm afraid we won't. Essentially, we're at the mark, but nonetheless, again, there's an opportunity for folks to reach out directly to each of our presenters. So what I'm going to do right now, thank you so much, Juliet. I wish you had, in fact, all of you had more time to speak more of your initiatives. And of course, I welcome you to everyone to stay in touch. Let me say a quick thank you to all of you, Anna, Danny, Juliet, for your amazing presentations and of course sharing your experiences with us with regards to the community engagement and of course in terms of how we deal with waste. Very innovative and very inspiring. Let me welcome each of you to a few seconds to say some departing words. And as well, before that though, let me thank the CBF team for organizing such a very insightful, very informative and productive Congress. I was very happy to be here. And of course, there's the opportunity for sharing of information. So let me welcome all of you, our panelists, to your departing words. And with that, I will end. Anna, go ahead.
I'd just like to thank you for everyone, Craig, Karen, and everyone here. It's a great pleasure and a very inspired initiatives around the world. And well, I will look for keep in touch because I think we have so much to exchange and help us here in this context. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anna. Danny?
I just also wanted to say thank you for everybody who came to listen. Thank you guys for putting this beautiful panel together. I learned so much from the other panelists, and I just want to emphasize how, Carnival is something that we love. Going to the movies is something we love, and we can't even enjoy that if we have no planet. So it's very important that we're able to tackle really important problems that we know the solutions to in order for us to enjoy it and our future generations to enjoy it.
Thanks, Danny. And Juliet.
Likewise, thank you all very much for the invite to be part of this. And for my panelists, it's very exciting to hear what you're working on within your respective countries. And I do hope for all of us that are part of this to connect with one another and continue to learn what's happening around the world. And one takeaway I would like to say is that the most important thing, I think, from waste management perspective that we are lacking is real information around waste generation. What type of waste we're creating, the weight that we're creating, the volume of it, and the frequency of it over the course of a year by industry sector. Once we start to have that type of data, we will be able to create real solutions, and we're not working with large-scale percentages. So that would be my takeaway. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Juliet. And like I said, it's just a window of opportunity to see circular economy in practice. I believe that there are many examples, and of course others we're welcome to share. So with these words, let me hand over to Karen or Rennie, and thank you. All the best, everyone.
Thank you so much to everybody. Yes, just to add my own thank yous. Amazing presentations, very insightful. I wanted to particularly mention that Danny was also one of the nominees for our Beach Hero Awards, and the winners will be announced later today. So I am the work is being noticed, and we're always grateful for that. So we are going to break now, as Craig says, for 1 hour, and then we will come back to a real networking session where we really want to hear, now that you've heard all about possibilities, what ideas there are for the Caribbean region in terms of circular economy. We will be using a Remo platform, so it's a little different. So the earlier you can come on, the better, so that we can show you how to use it if you haven't used it before. But we encourage you to join us then. So that's at 1 p.m. Eastern Caribbean time, 12 noon for us in Jamaica, and 1 p.m. US Eastern for those who need to do the conversions. Please join us then, and we look forward to seeing you. You would have gotten an email with the link that you need. Thank you all so much. It was an amazing discussion.